This video is brought to you by VisionBoardFinance, your macroeconomic tool. Hello everyone, welcome to the Goldie Line Show. I'm your host, Goldie Line, and we got news coming out of the Middle East. We will talk about how that affects markets and, my spin on that, my thoughts on those things, okay? So without further ado, let's just have a look at our first article here, okay? So this is all happening right now. So this one is from the Associated Press. It says the US launches a second day of strikes on Iran, and Iran fires back at the Gulf states and Jordan. Okay. So it says here Dubai, Arab Emirates, the United States launches a second round of airstrikes on Iran into Thursday morning after the US President Donald Trump warned that Tehran would pay the price for stalled negotiations. Okay. And Iran responded with strikes targeting Bahrain, Kuwait, and Jordan. Okay. So it says here, they will pay, he says here, right, Donald Trump, pay the price for stalled negotiations. Okay. Just imagine I'm coming to you and I tell you, hey, nice business you have. Can I have 50% of your business? And you say no. And I say, okay. And I just punch you in the face and then kick you in the nuts and punch you in the face again. And then I tell you, okay, are you going to give me 50% of your business now? Like, how would you react? Would you be like, oh yeah, of course, I will give you 50% of my business? No, no, you wouldn't. Okay. So what happened, or what is happening here is the US and Israel together, joined together by the hip, started a war of aggression against Iran, and they lost. Okay. None of their objectives, none of the military objectives were achieved. The strait was open and is now closed. There was no regime change. I mean, there kind of was, but now you got an even more radical regime in Iran that hates you even more, is more militant. You didn't shut down their nuclear program either. At best, it's buried under a mountain, so no one can reach it. At worst, they have some centrifugals and uranium left in certain areas and spots that you don't know where. And they're more likely than ever now to actually build a nuke. Well done. Great job. Okay, so there was a ceasefire, okay, presumably. Then Israel immediately continued attacking Lebanon, continued attacking Gaza, even though Lebanon was part of that ceasefire. Oh, okay. Lebanon is part of the ceasefire, but you can't say that. It's only attacking their capital. That's when the ceasefire breaks out. Okay, so they were attacking the southern part of Lebanon. Okay. Then the US announced a blockade, a very leaky blockade, I might add, not just like Peak Hegseth said today, it's an iron wall, nothing is coming through. It's not true. Then they had Project Freedom, where they wanted to navigate and help ships coming out of the Strait of Hormuz, which epically failed, just like Epic Fury. Very similar acronyms, right? EP, Epstein files, right? EF. And then they call the operation Epic Fury. So when you type in EF, you see Epic Fury and not Epstein files. Nice deflection, right? So multiple times the ceasefire was broken, and Iran was just slowly rebuilding, stocking up on ammunition and more missiles, just like the US did, after destroying, as far as I know, 26 of their bases throughout the Middle East. Now the US empire's Air Force is mostly at the Ben Gurion Airport, International Airport. It's a civilian airport filled with military aircraft. Okay. There's around 30 to 50,000 ground troops, but they're not all combat troops, scattered around in Kuwait and Bahrain. And for so on Friday we saw, okay, like just to get touch on markets, like on Friday we saw a huge sell-off in markets after the job numbers came out. Okay, but more on that later. Then on Sunday, we saw that Israel attacked Beirut, the capital of Lebanon, breaking that red line that Iran said. They said if you attack Beirut, we're going to attack northern Israel, which they did. Then on Monday, things were calm again. Oh, no, no, Trump came out again, right? No, no, everything is fine. Don't worry. Everything is okay. Blah, blah, blah. Oil fell below 90. Okay. And now 180 spin again. Oh, we're gonna bump them into submission to accept a deal. What deal? There is no deal. You want them to completely submit, which they're not going to. They're not going to accept no sanction relief. They're not going to not ask for toll or environmental fees to go through the strait that they control. They're not going to let you have a military presence around their country with collaborating countries like the UAE and Saudi Arabia, where you can start your air campaigns from. Not going to give you their stockpiles of enriched uranium, which is like their only insurance against you, right? Look at North Korea. North Korea is everything that they say that Iran presumably is. And yet, no one attacks North Korea. Why? Because they have nuclear weapons, right? Through this war of aggression, now you sent a signal that, hey, only having nuclear weapons will protect you from aggressions from the empire. Okay? So not going to concede. Trump entered the Hotel California. You can check in into Hotel California, but you can't check out. If he gets out of this with a deal, which was supposed to be in work, like at work, for to be signed on Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday, which Trump said, and that's one thing that I actually believe him. So that would seem like they kind of won or got what they want. Maybe it includes the nuclear material or something. So the US can stop this silly war and go home. But what about Israel? What about Israel? And why I think there was actually some sort of deal is because the attacks on Beirut and stopping aid into Gaza um, by Israel. Israel sabotaging that deal to drag the US back in. And then there was like this helicopter takedown, blah, blah, blah. So, guys, this is not gonna stop. I heard reports that the Iranians talked to the Pakistanis about having a nuclear weapon already and testing that somewhere in the desert to deter the US and Israel, apparently. Okay, so that they already have a nuclear weapon. So it's unclear if they made it or if they got it from, one of those three countries, right? Russia, Pakistan, or North Korea, right? So they talked to Pakistan about it, so it can only be North Korea or Russia. But I personally think it's natively made. The only issue was, storing it, putting it on a missile, delivering it. Those are very difficult, complicated security issues that you have when you handle nuclear weapons. But I'm not sure how true I'm not sure how true that is. that they're going to launch some nuke and in the desert somewhere in Iran. If that is true, if that is true, and here's my opinion, okay? Somehow that will deter Israel or whatever once you demonstrate that you have nuclear weapons, right? If they have nukes, if that is true, and they're actually planning to detonate one, the next thing that's going to happen is that Israel is not going to just sit around and wait to be nuked. They will unleash their entire arsenal into every city in Iran. So it would be really, really stupid to announce that you actually have nuclear weapons now, especially now that you got everything, the straight security, submitting the Gulf countries. They can't do regime change in Iran. I don't think that this is legit. Even if they had a nuclear weapon, they would not announce it. Another thing I'm seeing is the sudden change in Trump's tone. Very defensive. No, the ceasefire is still at place, blah, 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 covering for Israel. They're just playing good cop, bad cop. Israel and the United States. They're on the same agenda. Good cop, bad cop. What my hunch is, right? My hands are itching from that, is that the empire, they don't know what to do. Okay? They can't win militarily. They tried every military option, short of a massive ground invasion, where you need, when you invade, when you're invading force, when you're the attacker, the rough number that you want is 3 to 1, right? So if Iran has an army of 1 million people, you want at least 3 million soldiers if you have a ground invasion. And that's not going to happen. That's not going to happen without a massive false flag uniting young Americans and motivating them into going to war against Iran for Israel. It's not gonna, no, it's not gonna happen. Okay. Another option would be nukes. But if you use nuclear weapons, you need a damn good reason to use them offensively. Because once you use them, sure, you destroyed Iran, but you probably are gonna be next. China, Russia, other nuclear powers are not going to just sit around and let you nuke your enemy that you lost to. Okay? Because they know once Iran falls, they're next on the chopping block. So if they see you using nukes because you couldn't win, with conventional weapons, the logical conclusion here is to nuke you first, right? Absolute disaster. This cannot happen. So, how's Trump going to get out of this? He's not. I think they're trying to find a way for something to justify using tactical nuclear weapons against Iran. I see reports of the IAEA, oh, they're not allowed to come in, and they're warning that they have nukes. Like I see all these headlines coming out. I see Trump's language changing after that presumable phone call between Iran and Pakistan. And I have a hunch, I don't know, but I have a hunch they're trying to find some way to justify a massive, massive strike, and that strike is not going to be conventional. Okay. So how did markets react to all that? All right. Let me check. Okay, so let's go on my website, VisionBoardFinance here. So this is from today, but before we talk about what's happening today, on Friday we saw a massive sell-off after the job numbers came out. And what basically happened is, and this is market news that you won't get anywhere else, why there was a sell-off. What happened is that people are fed up with the fake numbers that the government is bringing out. Inflation numbers, the job report, like they went too greedy. Okay? They are just too greedy. And they faked the job numbers a little bit too much. I saw like 7,000 jobs added, which is nothing. And even those added are a service sector jobs. They're not producing anything, okay, to make industrial production go up like we see here, right? Which currently is apparently. Okay. So when you see that the economy is doing well, but you see at the same time inflation going up, right? So the inflation last time I checked was 3.8%. Here we got a new number. It is at 4.2% right now. It says moderate. If you want the real inflation rate, not from just the mouthpiece of the government, you can approximately double the inflation rate to get the real one. So now it's 4.2%. And the next CPI report here, when it is coming out, you can check that here. So you got employment. The next FOMC meeting is on the 16th of June. And the fear in the market on Wall Street was, okay, if the inflation is projected to double from 3.8% to 6%, 6 or 7% was the prediction. Now I saw predictions or estimates for it to become 8% month over month, which is insane. The fear was that that will result in rate hikes. Okay? So how this works, okay? How this works it is as followed. So if you have an inflation rate of 8%, okay? Now let's say 6. Let's say 6. You have an inflation rate, next week we're going to get a CPI report. We're going to see, okay, inflation is going up 6%. If you want to calm down that inflation, you want rates, the federal fund rate, to be above 6%, above the inflation rate. Because when I show you the business cycle, right? So when we go from an expansion boom into a recession phase, in the recession phase, right? In the boom phase, you have inflation rising, but you have low interest rates. And then in the recession phase, you have high inflation, and now you scale up the interest rate. And that will cause the depression in the business cycle, the last phase, where you see the inflation going down because when interest is up, you encourage saving over spending, which brings the inflation down. And when the inflation is down, you can bring interest rates down again, and the cycle starts again from new at the expansion phase, where you have low inflation and low interest rates, which benefits sectors like tech, AI, and all these sectors. But now we had a situation on Friday. Oh, okay, so the economy is actually doing better than ever, but everyone knew this is fake, it's not true. And inflation is rising, so that means, oh, we're entering a recession. So there was a massive sell-off in all these expansionary assets, like technology and AI, which is a massive bubble anyway, more massive than 2008, right? More massive. And that was the fear that interest rates will be risen on the 16th, next week. The issue is that bond yields at the moment are around 4%. They're inching up to 4%. At about 5% bonds, treasury bonds hitting 5%. Servicing the debt will be around $1 trillion a year. With an income, total tax income of the US of $5 trillion a year. 1.5 of that is going to the military industrial complex. And you're telling me 1 trillion, 2 trillion, or a bit more over 2 trillion is paid for welfare programs, Social Security. And 1 trillion you want to service the debt. Once you reach that threshold where you go over $1 trillion, which is around 5% bond yields, you cannot pay off that debt without creating more debt. Basically, in other words, monetizing the debt, printing money just for the sake of having money. So yields cannot go up. Absolutely not, without destroying the banking system, the financial system, crashing the markets, and crashing the economy. Okay? So does that mean, let's continue investing into AI and whatever? No, it does not mean that at all. We have about 25% of global energy, fertilizer, food feedstock, all offline. Oil in particular is 25%. Global demand, supply is offline. Another thing no one talks about, not only the Strait of Hormuz is completely closed, the Red Sea, what is called Bab al-Mandab Strait, is also closed by the Houthis in Yemen. They just attacked 2 tankers already. One Russian tanker heading towards Israel, presumably, they attacked. So together is around 25 to 30% of global supply. And oil is a fungible commodity. Okay, so that means that it doesn't matter where it's coming from. Prices affected will affect all prices globally. Okay, so it doesn't matter, the US produces crude. The US produces you need diesel coming out of the Middle East to use for your trucks, to transport food and everything you need in the US. The US doesn't have a train system. Okay. CEOs of Chevron and Shell met Donald Trump, I think over a week ago. Behind closed doors, they're saying, hey, we've got about 45 days left before we will feel what is really happening in the Middle East right now. Mr. President, one way or the other, this has to stop. So the catastrophe, my guess is around September, when the SPR is drained to the point where you have to refill it with that more expensive crude, not $90, not $100, not $120. We're looking at more like $150 and above. If you want to buy a barrel of oil, not the future paper price that you see in the stock market for WTI, if you want to actually buy a barrel of oil in Singapore, here close to where I live right now, they're buying barrels of oil for $160 to $200. There's a huge gap between reality and what is actually going on. Okay? So interest rates cannot go up. The AI bubble is being propped up in a investment circle jerk from company to company. But how do you gonna power all these AI data centers? They need energy, right? Yeah, well, if energy is not cheap anymore, cheap energy is the backbone of any economy, well, then it's not going to be a good sign for the AI bubble, right? which explains further why there's like this mistrust in markets. And we see massive manipulation anyway. Like when you look at oil, for example, there's 2 or 3 ways they manipulate oil. They do it since 2022, since COVID. Oil is being manipulated since the Biden administration. I was talking about a long time ago in my videos. They they ask private companies to paper short, which is what JP Morgan, for example, did with gold a while ago, got caught, and then they got like a fine of like 100,000. Oh, it's okay. But the money they made is like in the millions, right? The other way is lying. So you lie about, oh, we still have the SPR, like you fill it up with water, oil floats to the top. Okay, strategic petroleum reserve. Oh, look, we still have enough. Oh, we can still drain it, sell it for $40, keeps the gasoline price low. This is what's happening right now, what Trump is doing right now. Because inflation expectations actually are just the price at the pump. An average American doesn't know about inflation. What does that mean? How does that work? They don't care. Just see the price at the pump. If it's low, oh, okay. Inflation expectations are low. If it's going up, oh, inflation is going up. And then you have a trigger, right, for inflation. So you have people panicking, which causes more inflation in the short term. And then you have the actual inflation being hit on top. So to minimize that first effect, they have to lie. And the third thing, which is happening right now, how they manipulate prices, is turning the markets into a rigged casino that moves based on what Trump is tweeting from the toilet while having a poop. Today's Taco Thursday, so I don't think, even though they said they're going to attack Iran again tonight, I think it's Taco Thursday. Oh, no, it's over now. Again, to calm down markets for the weekend, and then they strike again on the weekend. And on Monday again, everything is okay. Yes, no, yes, no. Hey, which one is it? Yes, but no. Okay. And this is what's going on. This is what's going on. We see our bubble risk here, 68%, went down slightly. I'm not sure why our AI set that to 68, but it's still pretty high. Let's see what. So based on our theory here, right? So we're in the end of the boom cycle between boom and recession since the past few years because of all this manipulation going on. So recommended sectors are consumer staples, healthcare, utilities, and then reality adjusted ones, like the actual ones. You want to be in energy, look, it's the highest one, 80%. Precious metals, gold, 85%, materials, industrials. So technically, you want to be in healthcare, you want to be in consumer staples and energy. Okay, so let's see the past 5 days, our performance here. We can see the best performing sectors here for, let's see 1 month. Healthcare, to no one's surprise. Then we got consumer staples, right? Just like the recommendation said. And then let's see where is energy here. So energy, yeah, energy is okay, but being massively downgraded from reality. But as you can see, right, like the S&P here did really well, did even better if you go further than a year, but it's slowly, losing momentum. We got the VIX, which went up, I think, about 30% in a single day on Friday. Then went down for the past 2 days. Now it's going back up again a little bit. The biggest losers, we got financial materials, energy, healthcare, and crypto, to no one's surprise. And then the biggest winners, this was yesterday, by the way, technology, consumer discretionary industry. Okay. We can check out different companies here. Maybe we can do it another time where we look at individual companies. We have our squeeze score here, which we can also look at what companies are most likely to squeeze in the short term. So if you're into options trading. But the reality is that the economy is not doing well. Markets could crash at any time. And what I think the only way to make money in the rigged casino we call the stock market right now is two ways. Either you're an insider, which I don't think you are, I'm not, or you have some sort of AI tool that you can use to help you make the best decision in the short term right now. And this is what we're building here at Vision Board Finance to help you. These tools exist, quantitative technology and quantitative finance tools exist for the big boys. They pay a lot of money for these type of things, but you can have it on your device with Vision Board Finance. Why can't we have it as well, right? Which is why I built Vision Board Finance. Okay, thank you very much. So there's no sponsors. The only sponsor is myself and my own company, Vision Board. And I hope you enjoyed the show. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. What do you want me to talk about next week? Let's see when I'm going to make the next stream. And like and subscribe, right? Okay. I wish you guys a wonderful day and let's navigate these crazy times together.